Good evening, everyone, esteemed guests and dear participants. This side Madhvi, your host for event Agri Explore 21 Days International Winter School Training Program, which is organized by Utkarsh Incubation Dr. PDKV Kola in collaboration with ISA, HRD, and Just Agriculture. So, in this, we will cover 25 plus modules related to agriculture and agripreneurship. The stakeholders, participants of this program are students, scientists, working professionals, farmers, industry persons. So in this program, we will discuss in detail of each topics: drone technology and agri-boots, rooftop farming, microgreens, poultry farming, saffron farming, biofloc fish farming, training, dry flower technology, mushroom production, IoT and artificial intelligence, SaaS and blockchain technology. So I welcome you all without taking much of your time. So now it's my pleasure to invite our esteemed guests, Astika Narula ma'am and Shankar Narula sir. So before we start, I would like to introduce them with you all. They are both brother and sisters from Grower Saffron Farm, Ludhiana, Punjab. They began their journey in January 2024 for installation of their indoor saffron plant, which began functional in July 2024. When they started putting the bulbs of saffron via aeroponics technique, they successfully completed their first harvest in November 2024, and they are currently in process of propagation of bulbs for upcoming season. So I welcome you, ma'am and sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. First of all, let me introduce myself and my brother. I am Astika Narula, and my brother's name is Shankar Narula. We are currently based in Ludhiana, Punjab, and we have a farm by the name of Grower Saffron Farm here in Ludhiana itself. And it's been a very nice journey of 1 year, which we have gone through, and we have started our farm last year. And as we are here today, gathered here today, I am here to share the knowledge of saffron indoor farming, that is via aeroponics technique. So I'll hand over the thing to my brother, so he'll begin the session.
Hello, good evening, everyone. We'll be discussing about the indoor saffron farming. What is the technique? How do we do it? So, let's begin. So, can anyone tell me how many of you know about the aeroponic technique? Is there anyone? Kindly write down in the chat section, please.
Sir, actually, we will open the chat box in the end of the meeting so they
Okay,
can drop
okay.
their questions and queries to you, sir.
Okay, definitely. Okay. First of all, uh, yeah. I'll introduce the saffron farming. What are the requirements for the indoor saffron farming? First of all, we need the infrastructure. Since we have to maintain in a controlled environment, we need chillers for the temperature, and to control the environment, we need the insulation in that room. And for the continuation process, we need seed itself, racks, trays, and last will be the lighting equipment, right? And since the saffron production is already decreasing in Kashmir drastically, a few years back it was around 10 metric ton. Right now it is 2.6 metric ton in last two previous 2 years. So I would highly encourage everyone, if anyone want to open the indoor saffron farm, he or she should do it. And the parameters that are used in indoor saffron farming are temperature, CO2, humidity, and light. There are four parameters in it. Yeah, rest of the my sister will tell about.
So basically, I am here to give you the aeroponics introduction. What happens in aeroponic farming is that we do not require any soil or any kind of water. It is basically done in a complete controlled environment, and it is an indoor farming. So, as we all know that it requires a complete controlled environment, so it saves us from the hassle of the harsh environment which is available outside, the sunlight and the soil and the dust. So there are basically numerous benefits to the indoor farming. And as my brother already told you, the saffron production is on a continuous decline since last few years. The reasons are many, as people are also shifting from the traditional farming methods, and people in Kashmir are also moving away to the new tourist attractions and other opportunities, employment opportunities. And also global warming is happening, as we all know, right? So therefore I seriously think that saffron in an indoor farming technique is going to grow a lot in upcoming few years in India. So there's a lot of scope for expansion in India regarding the saffron aeroponic farming. And as far as the parameters are concerned, there are four basic parameters. Those are temperature, carbon dioxide, humidity, and light. So these are the four basic parameters which we controlled in an indoor environment. So as these are naturally available in the outdoor farming, as the light is provided by the sunlight, temperature is already regulated by the nature forces, right? And carbon dioxide and humidity is also managed and regulated by the nature. So we control all these four parameters in an indoor farming setup. So they are basically, if we go into the detail of it, the temperature is basically ranging from approximately 4 degrees to approximately 20-25 degrees. So it basically varies in different stages of the plantation. For example, if I tell, when we plant the saffron bulb, it is a different temperature which is required altogether. And during the harvest process, the different temperature is required. Other than that, when it is sown in the soil back after the November harvest period, a different temperature is required altogether. So these four parameters, which are, as I already mentioned, these keep on changing as per the stages of the bulb which it is in. So as I already told, the range of temperature is between 4 to 25 degrees. The carbon dioxide also varies between 300 to approximately 600-700 parts per meter, and humidity also varies approximately 70 to 75, ranging until up to 95%. And light, as we all know, is measured in the lux. So there are proper sensors in the indoor farming setup. So we control all these parameters with the help of those sensors in an indoor environment. So if we go into the detail of this, so it can be completely divided into various stages. So, but if we begin to segregate it into the stages, so we can start it from the process from the month of August. So what happens is, the bulb which is the seed of the saffron, it is known as saffron bulb, as you might already know. So the saffron bulb, it comes out from the soil in the month of August. And once it is taken out of the soil, it is usually, as you already might know, a lot of people might be knowing, in India, naturally, the saffron which is grown in India in a natural setup, it is grown in Kashmir. So we procure the bulb from Kashmir itself. So in the month of August, it is usually procured, and then it is transported to the indoor saffron plants, after which it is cleaned using a proper technique. It is known as desilverization. After the cleaning process, it is basically given an antifungal treatment. There are numerous methods for this technique that the antifungal treatment can be given. So, depending upon the availability and depending upon the ease which you prefer, it can be done accordingly. After the cleaning and the antifungal treatment process, the bulb is sorted according to the sizes. So after the sorting, what happens is, basically it is completely cleaned and sorted, and it is placed in the respective trays, the trays which we have set up in the room. So if I go into the detail of it, the basic infrastructure required for the room setup is, first of all, we will be requiring the insulation for the room. So the insulation is basically done so that the temperature could be maintained in the room. After which the chillers are installed in the room so that the temperature can be lowered down as per our requirement. So it is done through automatic sensors and everything. So after which the racks and the trays are installed in the room, and the proper lights and equipment which all is required regarding the light intensity and the lux meters. Everything, those things are installed. And finally, the saffron bulb is placed. So I would say that if you guys are planning to begin this process, you need a thorough research for it. And we are here to help you out definitely. In fact, we also as a team are in the process of expanding and setting up these plants throughout the India. So after the placement of these bulbs in the trays, what happens is we keep a constant check on these parameters through a daily chart that we prepare. So we keep a constant check all the parameters, that is humidity, temperature, light, and carbon dioxide. So the range and the method of these daily monitoring will be explained by my brother.
Yes, so for example, like my sister told you, that daily we have to change the parameters according to the stage of the seed. In the morning, since the sun rises, we have to provide enough light to the bulb according to the stage of the bulb. For example, during the seeding stage, the light requirement is very low, and when the propagation stage goes on, the light requirements are higher than the usual. And same goes in the night session also. For example, at night the sun sets and the temperature also falls down in our environment. So same goes with it also in Indo saffron farming. We have to maintain the temperature according to it. In the daylight, the temperature is higher, and at night time, around 5 to 6 degree Celsius, the temperature is low. And same goes with the light. The light have to be turned off, and usually the light intensity goes higher as the seed propagates itself because of the process of photosynthesis. Since the green shoots come out, the photosynthesis process has to take place, so we have to provide it enough light. It goes up to 3000 lux to 6000 lux depending upon the stage of the seed. Same is the humidity parameter also. Like in Kashmir, there is mostly snowfall. The rain doesn't fall usually, but since we have to maintain the enough humidity, um, we have to check the parameters twice a day. It goes from 75% to 95%. More than 95% humidity is not required in Indo saffron farming. And same is with the watering process also. To maintain the humidity, we have to water it, but not in the form of we have to spray in the form of we have to give water in the form of spray, like twice a week we can say. For example, same goes with the intensity of light as I told you. And carbon dioxide also, in a controlled environment we have to regulate the carbon dioxide and the airflow. Yeah, rest my sister will explain you.
Yeah, as my brother already explained you regarding the as my brother, as I was saying, as my brother already explained you regarding the parameters and how we take care of it in the indoor farming. So I will explain what happens after we plant the bulbs in the trays. So what happens is the shoots start coming out from the bulbs. Those are basically the uh, white part thing that basically protrudes from the bulbs. It usually happens after 3 to 4 weeks after the plantation of the bulb. So during those period, the bulb, when we place it in the tray, it is quite sensitive since it is placed without the soil. So we have to be extra cautious. It is prone to a lot of infections, and most importantly, it is prone to fungus. Since we have also transported the bulb from usually Kashmir, we procure it, right? So we procure it from Kashmir and it is transported and it has covered a great deal of distance, right? So it is prone to a lot of infections and importantly, fungus. So we have to be extra cautious about fungus, and we keep a constant check on it so that the fungus does not develop. Because once we provide an antifungal treatment to the bulb, there is still a slight possibility that there could be fungus development in the bulb. And if the fungus develops, it could spread to the entire tray. So during the initial period of the farming, I would say in the initial 1 to 2 months, we have to be extra cautious regarding these infections, since the bulb is placed without the soil and it is quite sensitive to the outside infections and everything. After the shoot development, you will see that the shoots begin to grow completely, and this usually happens by mid September or in the beginning of October, you might say. And throughout this process, we keep on constantly checking the parameters and regarding the temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide, and light. Those are managed daily, and they keep on varying throughout the process. I would say approximately every 10 to 15 days, these are changed as per the requirement of the bulb. So once they start growing, you will see that the little buds start developing from the shoots. And eventually, those buds, by the time of late October to beginning of November, you'll see those buds start developing into the flowers, the purple, beautiful flowers that you might know, the saffron flowers, right? So those flowers, which are purple in color, you might be seeing them by the late October period or early November period. So this is usually an important time. It is usually known as the peak season of the kesar harvest, kesar farming. So this is the time when we harvest the saffron flowers in the late October or early November period. So there is a proper technique of harvesting these saffron flowers. So what usually it traditionally happens in Kashmir is the farmers, they usually go out in the dark period, basically before the sunrise. They go out in the fields and they pluck the flowers, because the sunlight, as the researches show, that the sunlight damages the quality of the saffron. So it is usually advised that the flowers be handpicked before the sunrise. So this is what we do in indoor farming as well, to maintain a proper quality. We assure that we harvest the flowers, we pluck the flowers before it blooms completely. Once we turn on the lights in the morning, we see that the flowers start to bloom, but we harvest them before they are bloomed completely to ensure a proper quality. And we also make sure that we harvest the flowers the same day they are bloomed, to again assure the quality. After the harvesting process, there is a complete proper drying process of the saffron, because as all of you might know that the fresh flowers contain a lot of moisture, right? And kesar, as you might know, saffron, which is readily available in the market, it is available in a dry form. So it has gone through a proper drying process. So because if we sell or if we store a moist thing, it would definitely develop fungus. So that significantly reduces the shelf life. So it has to go through a drying process to ensure a long shelf life. So there are again various methods to the drying process. These could range from drying in the sunlight, or using a air dryer, or basically using a microwave or a heater. And that again depends upon the personal choice of a farmer, how he or she wishes to dry it. So it usually takes approximately 4 to 5 days by a air dryer method, and it usually takes approximately 2 to 3 days by sun drying, and few minutes basically. Just a minute.
मीटिंग ही end हो गई.
पता नहीं कब से बोलेगा. Yeah, as I was saying, the drying process, right? So what happens is, in the drying process, there may be different methods. It could range from sun drying to air drying and using heaters as well. So it again depends upon the personal choice of the farmer, how they wish to dry it and what is readily available to them. After which, there is a proper technique of storage of saffron. Once we dry the saffron, we make sure that we completely store it in an airtight space to ensure its complete long shelf life. So this is basically a growth period of, I would say, the growth cycle of saffron from August to November. This is how we grow saffron in an aeroponics technique. After harvesting, as you might, a lot of people might be knowing, that the bulb which we procure from Kashmir is basically a one time investment. We do not need to buy the bulb again and again. So after that, we basically the bulbs which are available to us, which we already have in our farms, we put them in the soil. So this basically method will be explained to you by my brother.
Yes. So after we have harvested saffron from the bulb, we'll be placing it back to the soil, as we can take around 3 to 5 harvest from one bulb. After, for example, we can take harvest for 5 years. Each year, one crop will be taken. This is because of the aeroponic technique. The bulb gains weight every year as we put it in the soil, or it regerminates small daughter seeds also. So average, if we take the average of it, the mother bulb generates 1.5 times, it gains 1.5 time weight, or it gives us daughter seeds, so that it can survive for next 5 years. So as my sister told you, it is a one time investment, and it goes in the growth stage from growth and propagation stage after we put it in the soil from November to mid March, we can say. After the March, after 15th of March, we can say the seed goes to the dormancy stage in which it sleeps. It does not propagate or grow there. But the continuous watering is required, and controlled environment is highly beneficial for it. From March to July, it remain in the dormancy stage and rest for the rest of the period. During that period, zero light is required and only watering is required. But the temperature has to be controlled at that time also. The temperature varies from 15 degrees to 22 degrees Celsius at that point of time. And after the after dormancy period, watering is not required, and the cycle repeats itself as from where we have started from August to November. Again, we'll plant the seed and get the harvest. So coming to the setup, that process will be explained by my sister.
So as my brother already told, this is the basic layout of the saffron aeroponic farming technique that we are doing in indoor. Basically, I'll again give you an overview. In August, we take out the bulbs from the soil, after which we clean them, after which we give it antifungal treatment. We sort them according to the soil sizes, and we put them in the tray without soil and without water. After which, we constantly monitor the parameters, that is temperature, carbon dioxide, light, and humidity. These four parameters are carefully managed throughout this period. Uh, from August till the November, we completely carefully monitor these parameters. In November, we harvest the flowers, and we basically pluck the saffron from the flowers, the red vibrant stigma, as you might know, that is plucked from the flowers, and it basically then goes through a complete drying process. So after drying process, it is basically ready to be sold into the market, or if the wish of the farmer is to store it for the next season, it can be stored. Once it is dried completely, it is basically good to go for approximately 5 years. Basically, what I mean to say is the shelf life of a good well dried saffron is approximately 5 years. After which, the bulbs which are placed in the trays, they have already lost most of its nutrition. Uh, they have already lost most of its nutrition. So what happens is we put it into the soil so that it could regain its nutrition. And since the bulb is a single time investment, we put it into the soil so that it could self propagate, it could reproduce and give a more of daughter cells to us, right? Daughter seeds to us. So it usually happens from the period of November to February end. That is when the bulb grows and it propagates. After which, in the March to July period, it goes into a dormancy stage. That is basically it needs rest. It is the resting period of the bulb, and it sleeps in that period. And as my brother already mentioned, we do not require light through that period. The light is basically next to zero. So the only things that we control during that period is temperature, carbon dioxide, and humidity. After which, by July end, we again take out the bulbs from the soil, and then from the soil again the same bulbs are cleaned and sorted, and the cycle repeats itself again. So this is basically the 1 year cycle of saffron that I've already explained to you. Now, as far as the setup of the indoor farm is concerned, there basically more 4 to 5 important things that you need to take care of if you're wishing to start your own indoor saffron plant. First of all, you will need a closed space for this. So any closed space would work. Ideally, it would be in a good hygienic environment. So maybe a spare room in your place, or maybe a spare business shop or anything would work in a good hygienic environment. So any closed space, you will need to insulate it. There are various methods of insulation available in India. You could insulate it using a thermocol sheet or a puff panel and many other which are readily available to you. After which the chillers will be installed. The chillers are basically to keep the temperature down. As you might know, the saffron grows in cold areas, right? The Kashmir area, it is quite cold as compared to rest of India. So we need proper chillers so that we could bring the temperature down, which is required for saffron growing. So the chillers and the capacity of chillers, that will depend upon the layout of your room and the size of your room, which size of the room that you're going for, the dimension of the room. After which you will need approximately you will need racks and the trays that will need to be installed in the room, which will again depend upon the layout of your room, how you are planning to lay those into your room and how your room is constructed and everything. After which the lights are placed in the room depending upon the racks layout. The lights, how many lights are required in the room, and how are you going to manage the lux intensity and the light intensity. Accordingly, those lights will be placed in the racks so that it could be adequately available to the saffron bulbs. Lastly, after all the equipments, the insulation chillers, racks, trays, sensors, little equipments regarding the humidity control and everything, after everything is placed, l- at the last stage, you will receive saffron bulbs, after which you will clean and place them in a good hygienic environment and you will take care of them. So this is basically a saffron indoor farming. That is how you do it. And now my brother will explain to you further, and we are opening the chat box. If you have any doubts, we are here to entertain you.
Okay, so participants, we have opened the chat box. If you have any query, or you do you want to interact with the ma'am or sir, you can.
Uh, Hello, someone has told that how do we do saffron farming in Tamil Nadu? Yes, sir, we can definitely do saffron farming in Tamil Nadu. Since we are doing it in a closed space, we can do it anywhere. So basically, what we do is we basically arrange all the environmental parameters as compared to what are required and what we have available. The temperature that we control through chillers, humidity we manage through humidifiers, after which the light which we are providing it artificially, and CO2, as you might know, is abundantly available in the atmosphere. So there is not an issue that we cannot do it anywhere. As far as the hygiene, as far as the environment is hygienic and it is clean, we can do it in any area. Okay, I'm getting a lot of messages. Just a minute, let me go through them. Someone has asked, how will you measure the carbon dioxide in aeroponics system? So what happens is, in the aeroponic system, we basically install sensors regarding everything. So there are proper sensors that will help us measure the carbon dioxide. The market value of indoor saffron. Okay. The market value of saffron is basically decided as per the lab results. So basically what happens is the saffron that is produced in the indoor saffron farms, or it is whether it is produced in indoor, whether it is produced traditionally, both of the saffron, they are properly lab tested and then the price is determined. As far as I know, and as far as my experience is concerned, there is a little to no difference regarding the price of the Indo saffron farms, saffron, and the traditionally grown saffron. How do we do saffron in UP regions? Okay, we can the same process via aeroponics technique. We can do it in anywhere, whether in UP, whether in Kanpur, whether in West Bengal or Tamil Nadu. Okay, someone has asked the initial investment of aeroponic saffron farming. Okay, I forgot to cover that. As I told, the minimum investment that would be required would be 10 to 12 lakhs, and within those 10 to 12 lakhs, you will be able to cover an area of approximately 100 square feet. Uh, okay, someone is asking, do you give personal training? Yeah, sir, we do guide personally. You can contact us on Instagram. We go by the name of Grow Grower on Instagram, and uh, you can also note down my contact number. It's 911 599 6555. Yeah. Okay, someone has doubt regarding the cycle after February. Okay, so I'll explain it again. So after February, what happens is the basically the bulb which is there, it needs rest for some time. It basically sleeps. If I tell you in a layman language, as human needs to sleep or rest for some time, those bulbs also need to sleep. So what happens is after February, they go into the sleep mode. From March till the July period, approximately 4 months, they sleep, and then after July, we take them out again from the soil, and then we again repeat the process in the August month. Risk management and ROI. Okay, there are quite a few risks. Those risks can be completely linked to the negligence. If we are negligent about the management of farm, then the risks would come. I would say if we are fairly cautious about it, there is no problem for the risk. Yeah, Shri Pallavi ma'am, yeah, we do give marketing support. Yeah, you can contact us. Can we know unit economics for particular room size and capacity? Okay, as I already mentioned, the minimum investment would be 10 to 12 lakhs for a 100 square feet room. In a 100 square feet room, you will be able to yield approximately 100 to 150 grams first year. Second year onwards, the yield would go increasing by approximately 1.5 to 2 times. Amount of bulb and price in 100 square feet area. Pranab sir, the amount of bulbs and price I have already included in the initial investment, which I already told, that is 10 to 12 lakhs.
Sorry, ma'am, to interrupt. Do you have any video of your farm that you can present among the audience?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. I'll be definitely presenting it. Just give me a few more minutes. Let me take a few more
Sure, ma'am,
doubts,
sure.
and I'll be happy to share the video of my farm.
Okay, ma'am, sure.
Yeah. Okay, someone is asking that the West Bengal climate as compared to Kashmir. Okay, that is not a problem, because what happens is we basically create a complete environment which is required for saffron growing, right? So it can be done anywhere. The chillers, they maintain the temperature. Humidity is taken care of by the humidifier or dehumidifier, depending upon which region you stay in. After which the carbon dioxide, as we know, is abundantly available in the environment, and the lights, those are artificially installed in the room. Okay, someone has asked a very interesting question. What is the aeroponics growth medium? Any growth hormone required during the process? Okay. First of all, there is no growth hormone required during the process. Reason is because the soil which we have put the bulbs in, though the soil the bulbs which we have already taken out from the soil, they have already gained enough nutrition from the soil. So basically we put all the nutrients in the soil which are already taken by the bulbs, so no extra hormone is required in the aeroponic technique. Address for availability of bulb. Okay, the bulbs are basically procured from Kashmir region. The exact wood area is known as Pampur. It is a basically small village near Srinagar. So yeah. Return on investment percentage. Okay. Basically in first year you will be able to get up to 30% return of your initial investment. So basically in 3 years you will be able to recover your principal amount that you have invested. Precautions during precautions to prevent fungal infections. Okay, so basic precaution that you need to take care is that you constantly need to be vigilant, and you constantly need to monitor those bulbs. In case you see any fungal infection, you pick that bulb and you remove it from the tray and keep it separately. Okay, someone has told me to repeat my contact details. Okay, we go by the name of Grower. It's GROW Grow, GROWER Grower. We go by the name of Grower on Instagram. And if someone is interested, and I'm also here sharing my contact number in the chat box, you can also know that. My contact details are 911 599 and 6555. How many cycle in 1 year? Okay, quite an interesting question. Currently only one cycle, but there have been researches going on to take multiple croppings in a year. How many years will we regain the investment? Approximately 3, as I already told, 3 years it takes to basically get the complete ROI. Can you provide PPT regarding? Sir, as I already told, you can connect through my Instagram. I've already shared a lot of details on my Instagram. Yeah. Will you provide franchisee? So you can contact us on our contact number, and then we'll have a chat regarding this. Is there any disease or infestation? Okay, there is no disease as such. Basically, the only threat to it is fungal infection. And as far as pests are concerned, there are no pest problems. Yeah. So I think we have already taken a lot of doubts. I am now sharing my video of the farm. Yeah. Hello, everyone. So, as you know, this is how an Indo saffron farm looks like. So these are the racks I was talking to you about. These are the racks that I was talking to you about. And these are the lights that we have installed. These are the trays, the wooden trays that we have planted the bulbs in. Yeah. As I was already mentioning you, this is how an saffron bulb looks like. We have taken it out from the soil yesterday. I was talking about the propagation stage, right? So this is the propagation stage. As you see, there are a lot of daughter bulbs. 1, 2, 3, approximately 4 to 5 daughter bulbs in a single bulb. Even from this bulb, you can see. So this basically it is self-reproducing. So you need not to make on bulb. Yeah. And the wall that you see behind, it is basically a properly insulated wall. The insulation from the wall, it basically helps prevent the temperature loss. As you can see, someone had already asked me, how do we manage the carbon dioxide? This is basically the carbon dioxide sensor. Currently, it is showing 527. We need to maintain till 550 is the ideal thing regarding the today's parameter. So currently it is showing 527. Okay, a lot of people are asking me details again and again. I'm sharing them in the chat box. Yeah, I was saying this is the carbon dioxide meter. We can constantly keep a check through this. We need to keep it till 550 as per today's requirement, and it is currently showing 527, which is an ideal time and ideal level. And this is basically the temperature thermometer, as you might be knowing, and it is showing approximately 16.1 degrees Celsius, and 98% is the humidity present in this room. So basically, what I'm getting is approximately this shows the carbon dioxide, this shows the temperature, and 98% is the humidity. Three parameters which I already told you, those are already covered. What is left is the lux meter. Now I'm going to show you how we manage the intensity of the light. So this, as you might, a lot of people might be knowing, this is known as lux meter. Once we bring it close to the light, as you might know, see, as we bring, this is a showing the lux. This is basically the sensor. If we keep it down, it is lower. If we bring it close to the light, as you might be knowing, the reading goes quite high. So this is how we manage the light. And we have properly regulated the light in this room. We have installed the regulators. So regarding, with the help of those regulators, we basically increase or decrease the light as per our requirement. So this is basically our farm. And this is how an indoor setup of a saffron farm look like. This is basically the insulation that I was mentioning you about. And these are the chillers that I was mentioning you to keep the cold environment. You might be getting a little disturbance in my noise since the chillers are also making a lot of noise. So these are the chillers. I have approximately 3 chillers in this room installed. I have a lot of space over here. So the reproduced bulb will be accommodated over here. So yeah. This is basically how an indoor saffron farm looks like. Uh, do you have any more doubts? Okay, someone has asked, are there any government subsidy? Also, is the income tax free? Yeah, the income is tax free as it is an agricultural income. And government subsidies, okay, there is an interest subvention scheme. You can contact your bank regarding that. Ideal temperature. Ideal temperature, ma'am, there is no ideal temperature. Basically, there is a range, as I already mentioned, from 4 degrees till 25 degrees, depending upon which stage our bulb is in. Okay, currently there are no schemes as such for aeroponics specifically, but there are schemes for agriculture. So you can contact your taxation consultant regarding that. Any space requirement you suggest for indoor plantation? Okay, if you're planning to do a business regarding the saffron indoor plantation, I would recommend a minimum area of approximately 100 square feet, not less than that. Okay, someone has asked what is the size of that room and last harvest quantity. Okay, my size of the room is approximately 600 square feet area, and harvest was approximately 1.3 kgs last year. This is basically the saffron that we harvested last year. I have a few more samples left with me. Most of the quantity I've already sold it in the export market and a few quantity in retail market. Okay. How much investment we need initially? Okay, that would depend upon the size of the room. The minimum investment would be 10 to 12 lakhs. Can I visit sometime? Yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah, forgot to mention our farm is open for visitors. You're free to contact us and visit us anytime. Looking for venture into partner. Okay. Yeah, you can definitely visit our farm. We are also into partnerships. We also help setting up of the plants throughout India. I have already set up approximately 6 plants throughout India, and many more are in pipeline. So if you guys wish to set up your own plant, you can definitely contact us. Price per gram. Okay, price per gram, it varies as per the quality. Once the lab testing is done, the price is decided according to that. It usually begins from approximately 3 lakh per kgs, goes up to 8 to 9 lakhs per kg in domestic market, and it is even higher in export market. PETA norms to export. Yeah, sir, there are definitely a lot of norms to export. You need a proper license, and then there are Indian food regulations that you need to follow, and the international food regulations that you need to follow. Any case of disease infestation reported in your farm? No, no, there are no cases of disease, as we keep a complete close watch on it. Which component you used as nutrition source? Okay, so basically we use vermicompost. I forgot to mention that in soil, once we put the bulb in the soil, a proper soil composition is prepared. The composition usually consists of clay soil, sand, coco peat, and vermicompost. Depending upon the area that you live in, the soil composition is prepared, and we put those bulbs in the soil, and then they gain the nutrition from that soil. Where do we get seeds from for the saffron? From Kashmir, sir. Can you please tell about the drying process? Okay, there are a lot of techniques regarding drying. You could air dry them. You could dry in the sunlight. Some people also like to microwave it or keep it near heater to dry it. So depending upon what is readily available to you and what is your best bet, you go for that. Are there any difficulties in ASF? I didn't get your question. Please elaborate.
Ma'am, someone asked, you told for 100 square host is 10 to 12 lakhs. If we increase
Yeah.
size up to 250 square feet, what will be the cost?
Okay, for 250 square feet area, approximately the cost would go up to uh, 25 lakhs approximately. Okay, yeah, complete production is done within 4 months, but we cannot take more harvest as the bulb also needs time to rest and reproduce. So basically, the peak time is from August till November, after which there's not a lot of work to be done on your farm. It usually requires approximately 1 hour of your day. Difficulties that have been faced by you in aeroponics. Okay, quite an interesting question. A lot of difficulties, sir, a lot of challenges. But what's life without challenges, right? So, yeah, you face a lot of difficulties and you get through them. There are a lot of solutions as well. In trays, what you use for stand for the bulb? Okay, I didn't get your question. What kind of difficulties? Okay, okay. If you wish to elaborate, I'll definitely elaborate that. First of all, a lot of people tell that there might be difficulties in procurement of the bulb, which we did not face surprisingly. There were not a lot of difficulties that we faced while procurement of the bulb. Once we procured the bulb, a lot of our bulb got spoiled by fungus. So a challenge that was faced by us was how to revive that bulb. So we did a lot of research regarding that, and then we saved our bulb. Which type of soil is better? Basically, a clay soil is preferred. But other than that, depending upon your area, which is readily available to you, different soil composition can be prepared. Oxygen is not required. Definitely, sir, oxygen is required. Why is it not required? Oxygen is readily available in the environment, right? And we keep coming and going out of the room. So oxygen enters the room itself. Plus, the chillers in the room also circulate the air. Okay, someone said they would like to contact. Okay, yeah, you can definitely contact us. I had already given my number in the contact chat section. If someone missed that, I would again mention that our contact number is 911-599-6555. How did you revive the bulb from fungus? Okay, there are a lot of methods regarding that. Uh, Once we get connected, I'll definitely share those methods to you as well. Basically, you need to keep those bulbs separated so that the fungus is not spread to the other bulbs in the tray. There's a special treatment given to the fungus bulbs. What is the advantage of saffron farming in aeroponics overfield? A lot of advantages actually. Basically, what we are doing in the indoor plant is quite hygienic as compared to what is in the fields. In fields, there's a lot of risk of rodents, rats, untimely rain, or maybe storm. There's no such issue or challenge in an indoor farm. So it's quite hygienic and safe that way. Why CO2 is required? It is in atmosphere. CO2 is required. Yeah, it is in atmosphere. We do not provide additional CO2. We need to lower it down sometimes when it is increased. How much profit you will get, ma'am? Okay, regarding the numbers, I'm okay. There are a lot of people asking about the numbers and economics. Okay, I would honestly recommend you guys, if you're planning to do a short-term business, this is not the thing that you go for. This is basically a long-time business. So since the initial cost is quite high, the basic ROI period is approximately 3 years that you take to get your principal amount back, right? So you need to be quite patient with it. After 3 years, you can definitely withdraw a substantial amount of profit. Which varieties can be cultivated? Ma'am, presently in India, there is only one variety of bulb, that is seed is available, which is Kashmiri bulb. Okay, I'm guessing no more doubts. How many years it will last once we set up the aeroponics shed? Ma'am, that depends upon your care. There's not a lot of maintenance required in your room. I would say approximately 7 to 8 years easily, after which you will need to maintain it a little bit, but it will easily last you that time. Okay, I can already see a lot of people are interested in saffron aeroponics farming. Which variety and suitable for it that give more yield as compared to other? In India, only one type of bulb variety is available, which is Kashmiri. And as a lot of people might be already knowing that Kashmiri bulb and Kashmiri saffron, basically Kashmiri saffron has a lot of medicinal properties, which is why it is quite famous and it is sold quite expensive in the market. So if we grow good quality Kashmiri saffron in India, so I would say it will definitely help us a lot as a nation. Okay, I'll definitely share my number. I'm writing here in the chat box. We also open to partnerships in case you guys want to set up your own plant. I have already established 6 plants throughout India, apart from my own plant. In case you guys are willing to set up your own plant, you can contact us. We'll definitely help you out. Hydroponic, aeroponic means by water. Hydroponic means by water. Aeroponic means that the nutrition that the crop requires is given by the air. Okay, interesting question. Hello, ma'am. We didn't have specific environment controlled equipment, so I have planted saffron in month of November. So any chance of flowering? Yeah, there is a chance of flowering. That depends how good you take its care. What about purple petals and yellow parts? Okay, I'll get back to it. There is a chance of flowering if you have planted in the month of November. But I would like to know, when did you procure the bulb? Like, where did you get it from and when did you get it? Vegetative growth phase. And what about the purple petals and yellow parts? Okay, basically all the byproducts of saffron flower are also sold in the market. The purple petals and the yellow parts, they're also sold in the market, but definitely the cost of those parts is not quite high as compared to the saffron. Saffron is quite valuable in that regard. Vegetative growth phase, temperature, watering, fertilizers to be given to, we need to go. Okay, the environment conditions. Okay, the environment conditions are quite variable, as I've already mentioned. Temperature also varies within the span of 10 to 15 days. Every 10 to 15 days, the temperature, watering, and basically the light and carbon dioxide changes. So the levels keep to be constantly checked. Yeah. Do we need to grow in the same aeroponic room? As far as I have researched and my family has researched it, if you grow it in the same room, you will definitely get many better results. But there are a lot of people who are growing in the grow bags and keeping it in the fields as well. So that's completely your choice. Yeah, you, Sai Teja, yeah, we can definitely have partnership. I have already mentioned my contact number. You can contact us. We already setting up plants throughout India. Yeah. I'll also explain my partnership models. So what we do is we help set up plants throughout India. We provide the vendor details in which city you are located and where you want to set it up. They will set it up in your city. All the technical guidance that you will be requiring, we will be providing you that via video calls. And as far as the production process is concerned, that is the growing process, we will also guide you throughout it. Every 15 days, we will be having a video call. In those video calls, we will be checking the progress of your farm, that how have you managed during the previous 15 years. And for the upcoming 15 years, we will be giving you the parameters. As I've already mentioned, every 10 to 15 days, the parameters change. So we will be preparing a customized chart for you and your farm so that you could manage your farm properly and give those parameters to the bulk which are required to your farm. After that, the marketing is basically the main game changer, I would say, because once you grow saffron, it is not difficult to grow saffron, honestly. It is difficult to grow a good quality saffron. And once you grow that, it is important that you sell it at a good price so that you get profit, right? So we also help you sell the saffron produced. So the harvest that you take from the saffron farm, we will help you sell it out, as I already have a lot of export contacts. So you can contact us. We do work in partnership model. What are the things that we mostly have to focus on after flowers bloom? The basic thing after flowers bloom is that you have to harvest it in the same day. After harvesting it, you will have to completely dry it. So the drying process needs to be followed. Is it possible saffron farming in Kashmir, in like Kashmir in Sikkim? Yeah, it is definitely possible in Sikkim. It is a controlled environment that we are providing it. It can be provided anywhere. Any more doubts that you guys have? Okay, I didn't get your contact number, ma'am. Okay, I will spell it out. Yeah, our contact number is 911 599 6555. I'll repeat it again: 911 599 6555. If you guys need any assistance regarding the Indo saffron farming, we'll help you out. We'll be happy to help. We also work in partnerships and we also provide one-time guidance. And if any of you wishes to visit our farm, we are available in Ludhiana, Punjab. We are located in Ludhiana. You could visit us. You could contact us, and then we can plan a visit accordingly. What about the purple petals and yellow parts? Yeah, they are also sold in the market, as I previously mentioned. Those parts are also sold. All the byproducts of the saffron flower are sold, but they go to different industries, and you need to do a little market research to sell them out. But I would say the main expensive part of the saffron flower is saffron itself. It is quite expensive. Expensive. The ROI from the profits or total return. The ROI, as I mentioned, the minimum time period for ROI is approximately 3 years. First year, you will be getting approximately 30% of the amount that you have invested. Please share some info about the marketing. Okay, you could sell it in the domestic market. You will need to do a market research about it. First, you will need to take care of, first, you will need to decide that whether you want to sell it in the retail market or a wholesale market. So accordingly, you can approach your buyers. And then there's definitely an option to go for export market. Any permission required by government? No, there's no permission required by government to grow saffron. But to sell saffron in retail market, you will need to require a permission and definitely follow the food norms and everything. Any other doubt you guys have?
So, ma'am, on the behalf of everyone, I just want to say thank you for joining us today and letting our participants know about more things for saffron farming, ma'am. Thank you
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you and to sir, ma'am.
yeah. You're most welcome, ma'am. We're happy to help.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining.
Yeah.
So, okay, participants, we move forward. Now, I would like to invite our next esteemed guest, Vijay sir. So, I would like to introduce them with you all. So, Vijay Sawant sir is seasoned professional in sustainable agriculture with expertise in hydroponics, aeroponics, and indoor vertical farming. With a strong foundation in horticulture, urban landscape design, and project planning, Vijay sir has been instrumental in advancing modern agriculture practices. Previously, he has been the CEO of Earthen Agritech and the founder of Sive Agrotech. Vijay sir is currently serves as the business development and marketing specialist at the City Greens, where he champions innovative solutions for sustainable farming and agri-tech. Sir is also an environmentalist at Wild Mountains and an accomplished public speaker, sharing insights on hydroponics and sustainable agriculture at esteemed panels and forums. Known for his commitment to organic growth, Sir excels in driving impact through research, education, and industry collaboration, making him a vital advocate for the future of the sustainable farming. So I welcome you, sir, on the behalf of everyone.
Thank you so much for that, Madhvi. Thank you for the introduction. Hi, guys. Good evening, everyone. So today we'll be understanding a bit more about hydroponics and sustainable soilless agriculture. Um, Before I move ahead, I would like to share something on the screen. I've got a presentation prepared for you. Okay. Are you guys able to view the screen?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Perfect. So, guys, basically what I would like to help you understand today is what hydroponics is, how does it fall under the category of sustainable agriculture, along with which I also want to help you understand what are the economics and commercial viability of hydroponic projects in India. Of course, if I talk about hydroponics, it consists of two words, which is hydro, meaning water, and ponics means work. So what we do is we basically make the water work for us in the entire agriculture domain in hydroponics. What I would like to clarify today is the certain myths that you have, around hydroponics, that there are only certain kinds of crops that can be grown, or hydroponics, is something wherein you require very less space. Agreed, yes, very less space is required and things like that. But of course, it is again a technology that one is using in order to grow plants. So to begin with, what I would like to help you understand is why one chooses hydroponics over conventional farming, or why does one choose soil-less agriculture over conventional farming these days. So there are two categories wherein I would like to separate people. First is the person who is buying hydroponic produce, and the second is the person who is growing hydroponic produce. So when I'm talking about the buyer or the consumer, there are two major reasons why he would like to buy a hydroponically grown vegetable as compared to conventionally soil grown vegetable. The major reason is the improvement in taste, texture, and the nutritional profile. All right. So one would argue, how do you get better quality or in terms of taste, texture, or nutrition in hydroponics? So hydroponics is a target oriented approach, which means that we provide certain elements to the plants in the correct proportion which the plant requires. When you talk about soil, it is a very broad spectrum approach. So let's say we are sowing a crop of tomatoes in the soil. What we do is we might do a soil test in order to understand the organic content, what are the nitrates available, the phosphates available, things like that. Accordingly, we'll provide the nutrition to the plant, meaning that we'll have a basal dose of fertilizer, then the first dose, second dose, and the final dose. Whereas in hydroponics, what we do is we will provide the correct amount of fertilizers or minerals that are required by the plant. Okay. So in soil, we'll give maybe, we'll divide it into 1:1:3 ratio of XYZ fertilizers, and then we'll put this fertilizer throughout the soil. So there is no control over the kind of minerals or elements we are providing to this particular plant. Whereas in hydroponics, now there is no buffer as such, meaning that there is no other possibility for the plant to absorb these nutrients from. The media that we use is inert in nature. Okay. Due to which what happens is basically the plant gets what it wants, meaning that if a plant requires nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, and all these 18 macro elements, what happens is we will provide those macro and micro elements in the required quantity only, due to which the of course the output is going to be much better in quality. Hence we get a better taste and texture. Definitely the nutritional profile is better in hydroponic plant as compared to a plant produced in soil or conventional methods. Moving on to the next bit is where we understand why you as a grower would want to grow hydroponics, would want to get into hydroponics or grow produce in hydroponics. Uh, three things that come to the mind. First is reduced inputs, increased outputs, and dependency on abiotic factors and human labor is drastically reduced. So first, let's address increased outputs. How do we increase the outputs? So the yield in hydroponics will always be better than what you find in soil or conventional farming. The reason being, again, it's a target-oriented approach, meaning that whatever is required by the plant, if you provide the exact amount of quantities, it is going to thrive, of course. So there are two major things when we consider improved yield. First is the number of plants in an acre that can be accommodated in a hydroponic setup will always be more than what you'll find in conventional or soil setups. So if I'm assuming tomatoes, we can roughly have about 8 to 10,000 at max if we go in a zigzag pattern of planting in an acre of land in soil-based farming. When I talk about hydroponic farming, we'll be able to set up 12,000 roughly plants in an acre, which means 2 to 4,000 plants have just increased because we are using this technique to grow these plants. Of course, the yield is improved there. Secondarily, yield per plant per cycle. Now, yield per plant will also increase in hydroponics because it is a target-oriented approach. Hence, it will give a better result. Meaning that let's assume turmeric. Turmeric will give you roughly about 700 grams to 900 grams per plant. However, there have been recorded cases wherein using soilless agriculture, people have been able to achieve 5, 6, and 7 kgs too. And that's per plant per cycle, what I mean. So that is the kind of output that you're looking at when you compare hydroponics to your soil-based farming. Again, moving to the next part is reduced inputs. Now, how does one reduce its inputs when they are conducting hydroponic farming? So inputs meaning your water, your minerals or your fertilizers or your nutrition, and the third and the most important thing is pesticides. So when I'm talking about water, of course, yes, the usage of water is roughly about 70 to 80% less as compared to what in soil. Majorly because in soil, all the water is seeped down to the ground table, wherein in hydroponics, it's a open or closed system, depending whatever it is, all the water that is provided is absorbed by the plants. So there is a very less chance of evaporation that happens, or there is a loss of water that happens. Secondarily, if I talk about your when I'm talking about decreased inputs, let's talk about the pesticides that we use. So there are four major kinds of pesticides that we see: airborne pest, waterborne pest, soil-borne pest, and vector-borne pest. Out of these four kinds of pests, soil-borne pests and waterborne pests are completely eliminated out of this equation. Why are they eliminated? Because soil is something which we do not use in soilless agriculture or hydroponics. Secondarily, if I talk about waterborne pests, the water that is used to grow hydroponic produce is run through a RO system which has a UV filtration as well. So those two categories of pests are eliminated. When I go on to the third and the fourth category, which is airborne pest, we create a controlled environment agriculture structure around it in order to ensure that the amount of infestation that can happen through airborne pest is drastically reduced by this structure. And the fourth and the last one is vector-borne pest. Now, vector-borne pest is something which will entirely depend upon the hygiene levels that you maintain in a farm. If you're able to run your farm at an ICU level wherein everything is top-notch, very clean, then you will never face issues with your productions or operations. So that is how you eliminate deadly pesticides or reduce the amount of inputs that you require to grow these plants. And thirdly is dependency on abiotic factors. Now, as we create a structure, we are not entirely dependent on abiotic factors, such as, let's say, there is non-seasonal rain, due to which a lot of crop yield is damaged or destroyed. Since the past few years, we have seen that everywhere in the country, we receive non-seasonal rains, due to which a lot of times there is a major losses that the farmers takes on account of these rains. Due to which, what I would consider when we set up a structure is that our losses are drastically reduced. Okay, there is a very less chance that you will face a loss because of these abiotic uncontrollable factors such as rain, or maybe let's say the humidity is too high, or the vapor pressure deficit is too low, or the sunlight is too high, the temperatures are too high. So these control environment agriculture structures ensure that we provide conducive environment for these particular plants to grow. All right. Secondarily, if I talk about the soil quality, now as this is a soilless form of agriculture, we are not dependent on soil at all. Meaning that irrespective of however the soil is, let's say it's a barren land completely, we'll still be able to cultivate there. And of course, reduction in manual labor. So when I talk about reduction in manual labor, when you're doing agriculture in soil, there is a lot of activities that you have to do, such as bed preparation, tillage activities, plowing activities, weeding activities, various such activities that have to be performed before even the plant can be sown into this particular soil. However, in hydroponic system, you just set up the growing system and you just plant directly. There is no such bed preparation or such activities that have to be considered. All right. Of course, I forgot to mention that when I'm talking about soilless agriculture, how we go about it. So majorly what happens is soil is a medium that is basically providing nutrition and support to the plant. These are the two main functions of soil in the entire growth cycle of a plant. What we do is we replace the soil by a different media. Now it can be water, coco peat, vermiculite, perlite, fly ash, leca balls, and so on. Whatever is easily available and cost efficient, that is the material that we usually choose, or a mix of everything. Again, now these materials are inert in nature, meaning that they don't really have their own electrical conductivity or maybe a nutritional profile. Due to which, what we do is we use the irrigation water to provide the nutrition to the plant. So this media provides support and the water provides nutrition. That is how we basically grow plants in hydroponics. Moving on to the next bit of this particular slide is to understand what kind of plants are usually grown in hydroponics. So if I'm talking about a commercial hydroponic farmer, there are two major categories that you will see. First is lettuces, herbs and exotics, which falls under the leafy greens category. And the second is vining crops. Now you would question like, why are only these crops being cultivated and why not others? Is it not possible to grow it hydroponically, right? Of course, everything under the sun can be grown hydroponically. It is just a matter of what is commercially feasible and viable. That is what the concern is here. Of course, you can grow roses, gerberas, you can grow calendulas, you can grow various floriculture crops, you can do various horticulture crops. You can grow papayas, you can grow moringas. A lot of these crops can be grown hydroponically. The question arises is, are you able to derive commercial viability out of it? Are you able to make any money out of it? That is why these are the two categories which people choose. The major reason is because there's a readily available market which is ready to pay a premium for the products that have been grown hydroponically. So if you are able to get this kind of market readily available, nobody would want to go ahead and spend more money into marketing to create a market of their own. All right. Initially, you begin with this, and then you can venture into a unique product which can be a USP for your brand. So when I'm talking about these two kind of categories, the first leafy greens categories consist majorly of lettuces like, butterhead, romaine, oak leaf, lolo rosso, summer crisp, and so on. When I'm talking about herbs, basil, thyme, rosemary, dill, oregano, parsley, sage, mint. When I'm talking about exotics, arugula, Swiss chard, kale, pok choy, celery, tatsoi, mibuna, mizuna, komatsuna. So there are various such leafy greens that can be cultivated in hydroponics. When I talk about the vining crops, there are three major families that come into my mind. The first is the pepper family, second is the tomato family, and third is cucurbits family. So when I'm talking about pepper family, there are various peppers such as colored peppers, your jalapenos, chilies, your basic green peppers, what you call them as capsicums. So there are various such peppers that can be basically cultivated in hydroponics. When I talk about tomatoes, there are various tomatoes such as your cherry tomato, beefsteak tomato, burpee, San Marzano tomato, and determinate varieties of tomatoes, indeterminate varieties, desi varieties, and so on. When I talk about cucurbits, there are cucumbers, gherkins, zucchinis, English cucumbers. There are various other cucurbits that can be considered to be grown in hydroponics. Also, what I would like to tell you is that these three kind of families are considered as high value horticultural crops by the government of India as well. We'll understand later on why are they considered high value horticultural crops and what happens when we grow them. Moving on to the next bit is the three major components that are required to run a successful hydroponic farm. So the three most important components are your structure, your system, and your automation. When I talk about the structure, I'm talking about a poly house or a net house or a shade net house, glass house, a structure which is going to basically help us to, control environmental factors in order to create a conducive environment for these particular plants to grow. So the structure is majorly dependent upon what kind of location are we talking about. So depending upon the location and climatic trends, we'll be able to decide what kind of structure do we want to build. When I move on to the next part is the growing system. Now, growing system is decided using this particular thing called physiology of the plant or morphology of the plant. So assuming that, okay, we are going ahead with leafy greens. Now, leafy greens have a life cycle of 30 to 35 days at max. Their plant height grows as 12 to 18 inches, and their root or the rhizosphere or the root system is extremely small. It's not that quite, distributed or it is spread across. So due to which what we can do is we can cultivate these leafy greens growing two kinds of technologies majorly, which is nutrient film technique and deep water culture. So when I talk about nutrient film technique, what I'm trying to help you understand is this is a name which we often find in the industry associated with hydroponics. So when I'm talking about nutrient film technique, yes, leafy greens do amazingly well in NFTs. These are basically your pipe-like channels, your rectangular channels in which you grow your leafy greens. There is a small film of nutrient which is always flowing in this particular channels, and the roots are suspended in such a way that they are able to absorb water as well as air. So that is what a nutrient film technique is for you. Moving on to the next part is deep water culture. Now, deep water culture is something which is very similar to a nutrient film technique, but not entirely true. So when I'm talking about deep water culture, I'm talking about a tub-like structure, a tub-like channel in which which is completely filled with water. Now, on top of the water, there is a floating sheet in which has holes. Now, in these holes, we'll be growing basically plants, and these plants have their roots dipped inside water. Now, there's a possibility that this water, as it is stagnated and not moving, there's a possibility of anaerobic bacteria being, multiply into this particular DWC system. For which, what we do is we add oxygen to the entire DWC tub in order to ensure that there is no growth of anaerobic bacteria. Moving on to the next category is the vining crops. When I'm talking about vining crops, right now, there are majorly what you see is, sorry. Yeah. So when I'm talking about vining crops, what I'm trying to help you understand is that there are two major kind of technologies that we use to grow vining crops. The first one is Dutch bucket system. The second is cocoa peat based grow bag systems. Now, when I'm talking about Dutch bucket systems, this is a bit expensive as compared to grow slab system. However, in the longer run, Dutch buckets are much more efficient as compared to grow slabs. Majorly because now when I talk about grow slab system, now these are bags or slabs in which cocoa peat or this media is being filled, and the plants are directly planted into this grow bag, and they are cultivated. Now in this particular scenario, what happens is, after every 2 to 3 years you will have to change the entire grow bag or the grow slab and get a new one, whereas in a Dutch bucket system you don't have to do that. They last you very easily for 7, 8, 10 years. Moving on to the next part is the automation bit. So when I'm talking about automation to you, of course, automation has become quite important in agriculture these days, especially with all the modern developments that we have been seeing in advanced agriculture. Now, automations usually in India, what I've seen is they're able to control climate or nutrition or irrigation or lighting. These are the four parameters that are used to control the kind of environment which is being created in the entire setup. Moving on to the next bit is basically these pictures wherein you're able to see on the top left corner grow slab system wherein cherry tomatoes are being cultivated. On the top right corner, you're able to see deep water culture in which your lettuces are being cultivated. Bottom left, you see a NFT channel. Now, this NFT channel, we're growing a parsley, I think, or this is mint. And on the bottom right, NFT A frame. In the NFT A frame, you can see we're growing corianders here. So these are the kind of systems that I was talking to you about in the earlier slide. Moving to the next part is what are the commercial aspects of a hydroponic farm and what are economics. Today, what we'll understand is what is the capital investment required to set up a farm? What is the operational expenses that follow along with it? What is the kind of profit margins that you can see? What is the ROI on the entire thing? What is the break-even period on this entire project? Other than that, what we are also trying to understand is the commercial feasibility of a certain project. I have created 3 business case scenarios or business case studies for you, which will help you understand what and how you can go ahead with a hydroponic project. Now, the next three slides that I'll be showing you is basically a generalized view on the entire hydroponic industry in India at the moment. It will give you extremely general idea on what are the costs and so on. So diving directly into it, when we look at a climate control polyhouse, okay, now a climate control polyhouse in which we'll be growing leafy greens and herbs. Now, in this particular scenario, what we see is the ideal size would be like a quarter of an acre setup. In this particular quarter of an acre, we are choosing DWC as our growing system. The total number of plants that you can accommodate in a quarter acre setup would be roughly about 17,000 plants. The cost of this polyhouse ideally costs 21 lakh rupees. The hydroponic system costs you 23 lakh rupees, and the total automation cost will be roughly 10.5 lakh rupees, which gives you a total setup cost of 54.4 lakhs. When we look at the average yield per plant, we can see that ideally 130 to 160 is what you can expect out of any leafy greens. Meaning that if you consider leafy greens such as curly kale or maybe iceberg lettuces or oak leaf lettuces, you can easily get more than 180 200 grams on any given day in any given point. However, we're looking at a worst case scenario wherein there is a conservative yield being mentioned. So we know that the life cycle is 30 to 35 days, which gives us an average cycle of 10.4, or roughly let's consider 10 cycles in a year. So if we calculate this, we'll understand that the average annual yield that we get is 23 to 28 tons out of quarter acre of a DWC setup when we are growing leafy greens and herbs. The average sales price per kg is 100 rupees per kg, which leaves us an annual revenue of 23 to 28 lakhs. Moving on to the annual expenses, it is roughly about 8 lakh rupees, which leaves us a profit of 17.5 lakhs. The investment that we saw was 54.4 lakhs, which basically means that it will take about 3.1 years for us to recover the investment that we have put in. Now, these average sales price is assuming a B2B sales model, wherein you're directly selling it to a stockist or a vendor or maybe somebody from the Horeca segment, as we know, the hotels, restaurants, cafes. Of course, these are bulk prices and not retail prices. If I look at a retail market, we can easily claim 500 to 600 rupees per kg for leafy greens and exotic herbs. This budget is basically, a very generalized idea. It of course is not including of any civil work that has to be done or any extra infrastructural cost which might be required. Now, this particular structure, all right, is basically a generalized idea of how a hydroponic farm would cost, like how the economics would look like. Moving on to the next bit is a naturally ventilated polyhouse for vining crops. So earlier, I forgot to mention you how a climate control polyhouse works. Okay. So a climate control polyhouse is nothing but a fan pad system polyhouse in which we use evaporative cooling in order to ensure that we are able to maintain the temperature. So what happens is on the one side of the polyhouse, you will have these particular fans, and the other side you will have a cooling pad. Now in this cooling pad, the water is always trickling down, and these exhaust fans, what they do is they basically suck the moisture from the cooling pads and throw it outside. So this movement of moisture, what it does is it creates a cooling effect in the structure. So that is how a climate control polyhouse works. When I talk about a naturally ventilated polyhouse, it usually works in such a manner wherein there are vents on the side and on the top. All the cool air moves in from the side vents, and as the density of hot air is much lower, it will rise above. As it rises above, it is able to escape through the vent which is open on the top. So that is how a naturally ventilated polyhouse functions with natural air movement. So if we look at a 1 acre setup, and we are using grow slab technology to grow these vining crops, we are able to cultivate 12,000 crops in an acre. The cost of this polyhouse is 43.6 lakhs in an acre. The cost of the hydroponic system is 18.8 and the automation is 10.5. So what I would like to tell you about the automation bit is, you must have noticed that for a quarter acre, the cost was 10.5 and for 1 acre is 10.5. So irrespective of the size, maybe up to 5 or 8 acres, 10 acres max, this automation can function, given that it is a single unit and not multiple units. All right. So per unit cost is same for automation irrespective of the size. So according to these numbers, we can see that the total setup cost comes to 72.9 lakh rupees. When I see that the average yield per plant is roughly about 2.4 to 2.6 kg. Now I will tell you what I have done here is I have considered one cycle of colored capsicum or bell peppers and 2 cycles of English cucumbers. Due to which what happens is we get roughly about 2.4 to 2.6 kg yield. The average yield per plant for capsicums is 2 kgs is what I've considered. Now, again, this is a conservative number. We can definitely achieve yields of 4 kgs as well. However, let's look at a worst case scenario wherein you're able to get 2 kgs out of a plant. When I'm talking about your English cucumbers, I'm considering 3 kgs per plant. People have been able to achieve 6 kgs as well. So according to these numbers, we can see there are 3 cycles, 3 months each of English cucumbers, 2 cycles, and one 6 month cycle of colored capsicum, which leaves us with an annual yield of 84 tons. The average sale price per kg is 46 rupees. Here, what I'm doing is I'm basically charging 100 rupees or selling my capsicums at 100 rupees per kg and your cucumbers at 25. So which gives me an average sales price per kg of 46 rupees. According to these numbers, we can see that the annual revenue will be roughly between 40 to 43 lakhs. The annual average expenses are roughly 20 lakh rupees, which leaves us with a profit of 21.5. Earlier, what you saw in a quarter acre, the profits were 17.5. However, here for a 1 acre, we can see the profits are 21.5. So that's the kind of margins that you're looking at when you're comparing leafy greens with a vining crop section. The investment we saw was 72.9, which leaves us with roughly about 3.3 years of break-even period. Again, this is a B2B model wherein you are able to sell it directly to a vendor, a stockist, or somebody who's a reseller at bulk prices. Again, the cost of any infrastructural cost or any civil work which has to be done is not included in this particular setup cost. Moving on to the third and the last part of this particular business models is indoor vertical farm. Now, when I'm talking about indoor vertical farm for exotic greens, I'm considering 1,000 square feet more, which is more than enough to start off a vertical farm. This 1,000 square feet area will have NFT technology. We'll have them laid in racks. The total number of plants that can be grown in 1,000 square feet is roughly about 6,840. I'm not considering the cost of polyhouse here majorly because people who set up an indoor vertical already have a residential apartment or a commercial unit wherein they are able to set up this place. The cost of the hydroponic system would be roughly about 23 lakhs for 1,000 square feet. The automation remains the same at 10.5, which gives us a number of 33.5 lakh rupees for the setup cost. When I look at the average yield per plant, roughly we can consider 125 to 150 grams per plant yield. Again, the life cycles are 30 to 35 days, which gives us roughly about 10 and a half cycles in a year. The average annual yield can be considered anywhere between 9 to 11 tons, which along with the average sale price of 500 rupees per kg. Now, this is a retail kind of a price that I'm talking to you about. As I mentioned earlier, both of the scenarios were wholesale prices. So if you're able to sell it at 500 rupees per kg, your annual revenues reach 45 to 55 lakhs out of 1,000 square feet setup. The annual expenses ideally are on average 26 lakh rupees, which leaves us a profit of 24 lakhs. So we can see that the investment at 33.5 gives us 1.3 years to recover investment. Of course, the cost of any architectural partitions or climate control through aircon, your HVAC system, your coolers is not considered into this setup. Again, this data may differ from place to place and the cost may vary from place to place. All right. And this is basically a B2C kind of a model wherein you are directly selling it to a consumer. Moving on to the next part, what I would like to explore right now is the subsidy bit. Now, when I'm talking about subsidy, the government of India provides a subsidy. The central government provides a subsidy through the National Horticulture Board. This subsidy is capped at 56 lakh rupees. You can claim it only once in your lifetime, and you require an active loan account to claim this particular subsidy. Per acre, ideally, you get 20 to 22 lakh rupees out of a naturally ventilated polyhouse. For a climate control polyhouse, you get roughly about 30 to 35 lakh rupees. Again, you need at least 2,600 square meters of area to be able to be eligible to apply for the subsidy. And you need to be growing high value horticulture crops. High value horticulture crops are the three families that I mentioned in the beginning, which is pepper family, cucurbits family, and your tomato family. If you are eligible for all these particular criteria, only then you can claim this particular subsidy. Of course, there's another agriculture infrastructure fund which has been updated very recently in the past few months. Through this, what you can do is you can basically claim a subvention of 3% on whatever rate of interest that you're claiming from the bank. Moving on to the next part, I would like to introduce my company here. We called City Greens. City Greens is India's most awarded agri-tech startup in the domain of controlled environment agriculture. We have won various awards from the government of India as well as various other startup events. Not just awards, we've also received grants from the Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Housing Affairs, Ministry of Agriculture, to run various research projects at the Agritech Park. So we've got a 3.25 acre research and training facility wherein we train agriculture graduates for 90 days, which is an internship program basically, along with which we also run commercial and your government projects there. So basically, these are our founders, Mr. Gaurav Narang, Ms. Shweta Unyal, and Rahul Indorkar. This is Gaurav's second startup. All three of them, I would like to tell you, are from IIM. Gaurav and Rahul are from IIM Calcutta, and Shweta is from IIM Bangalore. This is Gaurav's second startup. Earlier, he was into the pharma industry. He's also a member of, board of governors at Triple IT Sonipat. He's a member of investment committees at IDEA, ICAR. So he's been through the entrepreneurial journey a lot, and he understands these things quite to an extent. As he was working in the pharma industry, what he realized was a lot of his clients or the patients that he deals with are facing issues, or illnesses because of the kind of produce that they grow, due to which he decided to get into agriculture. And being from a very scientific background, or maybe in engineering, he realized that hydroponics was the way to go ahead. Ideally, what I would like to tell you about is City Greens has expanded globally now. It's present in the UAE as well as in the UK. All of these countries have invited us. So to talk to you a bit about us, we had a delegation of scientists who had come from UAE last year. the Agritech Park in Ahmedabad. Now these scientists visited us Agritech Park, stayed with us for 3 days. And when they realized that, what we are doing, they shared their insights with the government of UAE, and the UAE government, what it did was basically, invited us to set up our business there, provide us with infrastructure and things like that. Similar things have happened to us with the government of US and the UK. At the moment, we are based off in UAE and UK. We'll soon be launching in US as well. So what sets City Greens apart from anybody in this particular industry is three major things: agronomy support, sales support, and technology. So City Greens was incorporated in 2017. We are a bootstrap startup. For the first 3 years, we just worked on our technology, understood a lot of things about agriculture, and then we started setting up farms for others. We are a turnkey solution provider company wherein we provide not just a setup, but we provide a solution to you, in which we consist of three major things: agronomy, sales, and technology. When we were doing our research, we realized that the pain points that usually clients face is the agronomy support, because a lot of people do not belong to the agriculture community. The sales support, of course, yeah, the agriculture markets are highly volatile and fluctuating, so you never know what price you're gonna get. And the technology, of course, is gonna help us, overcome the hurdles that we see these days with consistent labors and issues like that. So now talking about agronomy support, we train 1 month at the Agritech Park for whoever who's setting up a farm. There's quarterly physical visits by our senior agronomists, and we train agriculture graduates at the Agritech Park. So we definitely can connect these farm managers that we have trained under City Greens. Other than that, we provide sales support, meaning that we make a legally binding contract for 1 year. The prices are fixed throughout the year, and the buyback is pan-India. So we've got vendors such as Big Basket, Reliance Fresh, who've got operations pan-India, due to which we are able to cultivate things or buy back things pan-India. Talking about technology, City Greens is the only company in India at the moment who has developed its own hardware and software when it comes to farm automation and technology. We are able to reduce the electricity bill by up to 39%, improve water usage by 36%, and increase yields up to 13%. Anybody and everybody who's using automation other than City Greens is buying automation from somebody who's sitting in the developed part of the world. So that's about it. That's my time, guys. These are our contact details. If you have any questions and doubts, please go ahead, and I'll be more than happy to address them. You can reach out to us on these numbers, and we'll be more than happy to help you as well.
So participants, we've opened the chat box. You can drop down your queries and questions to the sir there.
Okay. So I see Sai Teja is asking, could you provide me training for assistantship under you? I really want to learn more. Yes, Sai Teja, you can definitely contact one of these numbers, and we'll be able to help you with an internship program. Vignesh V is asking, is there any possibility for crop failure or yield decrease due to culture management, and have you faced this issue, sir? Yes, Vignesh, definitely. Yeah. See, agriculture is something wherein you're dealing with a life form, So when you go to a doctor as well, the doctor signs up a disclaimer wherein if anything happens due to any sort of reason, he's not, he has no responsibility over it. Of course, that is not the case with us. Definitely, we'll help you with the entire thing. We have been farming for a long time now, so we definitely understand how farming works. But there is nobody in this agriculture industry who will give you a definitive, written that this is the yield that you will get. Hydroponics can be considered as organic, NOP certificate. Gururaj, no, hydroponics is not considered organic. So there is a board, the NPOP board, which basically tells you what hydroponics is, what is organic and what isn't. If I talk about in the US, yes, in US, hydroponic produce is considered as organic. In India, the hydroponic lobby isn't strong enough to be considered as organic yet. Next question is Shubham Kumar, who asks what things are included in automation system in a polyhouse. So when I'm talking about automation system, Shubham, I'm talking about climate management modules, your irrigation management, nutrient management, power management. So these are IoT embedded devices with AI enablement in order to ensure that you are able to control all these factors without having human intervention, to ensure that these parameters are fixed, and this AI kind of is trained in such a way that it will ensure all the parameters are always in place. Dr. Ajay Kumar is asking, is this internship free or paid? It is a free internship. However, it is only available to agriculture graduates and nobody other than that. Dr. Manjula is asking, do you have something like terrace garden grown produce is collected like a cooperative or commercial profits? Yes, what you're talking about is community gardens. Of course, that can be set up, not a problem, but I don't see a lot of commercial viability out of such projects, majorly because the cost of setup increases because there'll be smaller setups in different places. If you want to just cultivate without having a controlled environment structure like a polyhouse, then yeah, it might work out, Dr. Manchula. But if you think about setting up a climate control polyhouse or a polyhouse kind of a setup on all these smaller places, then I'm afraid it won't. P. Indu Varun is asking, what are the opportunities do you have for BSc agriculture students in your company? Yeah, so we definitely have these internship programs. Of course, there'll be an interview after which you'll be selected. Uh, you can definitely reach out to us in Duvarni and we'll be able to help you with that. Gururaj is asking, mentha or coriander requires stress like heat to gain volatile oil. How hydroponic is possible? So the oil that you're talking about is not necessarily so there's a process through which this oil is obtained. All right. Of course, the oil content in these particular leaves will be more in the stocks will be more in hydroponics because we are providing it the right amount of nutrients. But if you're talking about requires stress like heat to gain volatile oil, then I think you're talking about the processing part, which happens after cultivation. I am not so sure on this bit what you're exactly trying to ask, Guru Raj. Sai Teja, how to join or apply for internship? Sai Teja, please contact one of these numbers and my team will be able to help you with it. Anant Tiwari, what are the criteria to join the internship program? Like any fee, number of days training, just to be good. So it is a 90 days training program. These are the numbers which are being shown on the screen. Please do contact these numbers and my team will be able to help you with it. The only criteria is that you need to have a eligible agriculture degree or a similar allied sciences to be able to apply for it. Manisha Kumari is asking, sir, any training and internship are going for hydroponic? Yes, Manisha ji, this is what I just mentioned. Sneha Kunar is, how can hydroponic address global food security challenges in a region with limited arable land? So, of course, Sneha ji, I think that hydroponics would be our next step towards the evolution in agriculture, majorly because with climate change and things like the global warming effect that is very prevalent these days. Hydroponics would be the next way to go ahead because it is a scientific method of growing crops and not dependent upon abiotic factors. Of course, with limited arable land, we don't actually require land in such scenarios. So yeah, I think hydroponics is the way to go ahead. Probably in this decade or the next decade, you will be seeing a lot of hydroponic producers in the market. Shubham Kumar is, if I have to set up a polyhouse of half acre, how much subsidy will I get from the government? So Shubham Kumar, half acre is 2000 square meters. It is not eligible for a subsidy. You require minimum of 2600 square meters to be able to be eligible for the subsidy. I mean, Subham Arya says, I'm interested in the innovative hydroponics model. I failed patent for a hydroponic model design through my college. Is there any future in hydroponics company like you for mere designing research? I am a final year BSc Agriculture graduate in LPO. That was also my 6-month module. Shubham, I'm afraid we're not looking for designing or anybody in the research field at the moment. We have those positions filled. However, if you are wondering about any agronomy related work, then yeah, we have a couple of vacant positions. You can definitely reach out to my team on the given number and they'll be able to help you with it. Um, no, it is synthesis inside cell by stress. Okay, Guru. So if you're talking about synthesis inside cell, then yeah, you can definitely provide stress by any given means. Now, depending upon how are you going to induce this stress? Is it going to be a naturally induced stress or is it going to be, a synthetic induced stress? Depending upon that, of course, you can induce that stress irrespective. The plant, if it is growing in soil, it will go through the same stages. If it's grown in hydroponics, it would go through the same stages. So I don't really understand what are you looking for. If you are able to provide that stress in soil, you can definitely provide it in hydroponics as well. Can I get a subsidy from both state and the central government at the same time? Shubham, yes, depending upon what state are you in. Again, I don't deal with the state government, so I'm not very clear or I'm quite hazy on that particular scenario. But you can definitely, have a word with the state government officials and they'll be able to help you. Gururaj is asking medicinal plants is feasible since it depends on secondary metabolites by external environmental factors. So anything and everything is feasible, Gururaj. You need to understand, do you have a readily available market? So let's say a lot of people say that turmeric is quite profitable if you extract curcumin out of it. Yes, curcumin sells at a higher number, but how many people are looking to buy curcumin in the market? Do you know people who are looking to buy this particular product? If you have a market, then you'll be able to sell. Just because it is selling at a cost does not mean that you'll be able to sell those products. So I hope I have answered all your questions today. I think that's about it. Thank you so much for having me, Madhvi, and Just Agriculture. It was really amazing. And thank you guys for being so patient. I hope this was helpful and insightful to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today and delivering such a thoughtful and informative sessions to everyone, sir.
No problem. Thank you so much, Madhvi.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
So, participants, it's the end of the day. Now your meal